morning children, how are you all? I hope you all are doing great. So today students will be starting your lesson 2, that is Lost Spring by Enis Jung, that is Stories by Stolen Childhood. So in this lesson, before starting, let us know something about the author. The author Enis Jung was a daughter of two famous poets who served the Hyderabad Nizam of Hyderabad. She is also a well-known journalist and she had worked with Youth Times, and she is known for her articles in print media. Okay, post that she has written this very short stories upon rag pickers, the children who work with factories, also who are craftsmen at a very young age. So it is kind of a sensitive insight into all those who are into child labor. This very article, this very narrative is about two such people, one of them being Sahib and the other being Mukesh. So the first half of the lesson is about Sahib, a very young boy who is a rag picker and has come into Delhi and is basically from Dhaka. So he has come from Dhaka because the family had to face natural calamities and his family was victim. That's why they shifted to Delhi to settle there. So the age which is wherein the children's hand need to be reaching out to stars are used as an economic tool is a kind of thing she is trying to bring out. Enis Jung's writing, students, is plain, simple and naturalistic and also very sensitive. She puts an insight into the sensitive issues like child labor, and two such anecdotes she records in this lesson, in this narrative. Now let us see what is the story of Sahib and then of Mukesh. So while taking rounds in Delhi and on the outskirts of Simapuri, Enis Jung comes across a little boy of 8. His name is Sahib-e-Alam and everybody calls him Sahib. Now she asks this little boy that why instead of going to school is he rag picking. Okay, that is searching things from rags. So he said that this was his profession and he would like to join the school. So she offers if she builds the school, will he join? He was so happy. He says the very next day or that very day he would join the school. After a few days, the promise she makes, Enis makes a light-hearted promise that yes, she'll build the school, and then goes by. And then when Enis comes again, this little boy Sahib comes in and asks Enis that where is the school I want to join. The writer here feels embarrassed that why did she make a promise, and at having a promise made such light-heartedly, the boy took seriously and he really wanted to join. Now that this very person, Enis, observes this little boy's life, Sahib's life, and she knows that the name is in complete opposite of what he is. Okay, he is a mere child labor, a mere rag picker, and his name is Sahib-e-Alam, that is Lord of the Universe, which he could never be even if he did something great. Okay, so she feels saddened at this part. Then she goes on to explore his family, Sahib's family, wherein she comes to know that many people just like Sahib's family had come from Bangladesh, from Dhaka, and had settled in outskirts of Delhi, that is Simapuri, back in 1971. Okay, and she says that they live in huts, they live in tents, they live in tarpaulin made houses, there is no pakka house, and also they live in reeling poverty. There is no means except for labor. Okay, so she says that while rag picking is a kind of survival for adults living in Simapuri, that is poor people living in Simapuri, it is a kind of game for little children like Sahib and his friends. Why? Because they would sometimes find a rupee or even 10 rupees from the rags. Okay, then in one such incident he meets Sahib and his friends and he says, why are you not all wearing shoes or chappals? Okay, basically, so one of them just makes an excuse that his mother has not given him. So the friend says even if he was gifted with chappals, he'd just throw them off. This was just to dismiss the fact that they were poor, and this is such a sensitive thing that she brings out, that all these little kids move without bare feet or on streets in the days which are full of scorching heat. Okay, similarly then she goes on towards then she meets a priest and his little child in Udupi, and she recalls the incident there that when the priest child was without any shoes to go to the school, all he could ask the deity in the temple was if the deity could grant him a pair of shoes. Okay, so she feels, see, just like their little lives, their demands and wishes are so little, so small. Similarly, they too, their wishes and demands are equally small. She notices this with Sahib's life. Why? Because Sahib used to visit a little garden, and carefreely he was a rag picker. He never minded being a rag picker because he thought it was a kind of game, a kind of wonder game wherein he could find a rupee or 10. So yes, on this park, she sees Sahib going, noticing two people playing tennis in white, and he too somehow arranges the tennis shoes, white ragged tennis shoes, and he then in the evening goes to the park and tries to play tennis all alone. So he was not only poor but also lonely, and the park used to be closed for poor people, thinking that they would cause nuisance, but then there was no one. He would cross the gate and go in to play the tennis. Towards the end, once Anis then again goes on to visit this carefree kid Sahib, and he says now he works at the tea stall and he serves tea, and he gets rupees 800 for doing so. So the author feels sad and is very laments the fact that he could now never be carefree or the way he used to be when he was just a rag picker. Now he is burdened with the responsibility of earning money for his family only at a tender age of 9. Okay, so she is said that Sahib-e-Alam is no more the Lord of Universe. He is now burdened with the responsibility of serving tea to all those who come. So he was paid just rupees 800 for the same. So he gives away his childhood just to 800 rupees. So that's the entire thing in the first that I could. The first part is named as Sometimes I Find a Rupee in the Garbage. Okay, so here the rupee is Sahib, and the garbage is the entire poverty of India, especially with Delhi, and here I is Anis Jung. Okay, so this is the symbolism Anis has tried to put in his plain simplistic language. Let us have a look at I Want to Drive a Car by Mukesh. Okay, so these all phrases or dialogues are by the people, those characters. First was by Sahib when he finds a rupee in the garbage, and the second is I Want to Drive a Car is by Mukesh. Okay, so in this narrative I Want to Drive a Car, the Anis comes across a teenager of 16 to 17 years who is from a bangle making laborers community. Okay, so Mukesh's family is a labor community making bangles in Firozabad, and since they work in a factory without air, without light, they have lost their sight. Okay, so he then takes the writer to his small hut, which is in a very dingy, in a very foul smelled lane, and the writer goes in there. The home had no doors, no windows, and also it was made of tarpaulin. Okay, so he says that even in houses like this, they have a tradition which they pass on from the labor parent passes on to their children and then to their children. So there too the children work at a very young age in factories which are so poverty stricken. Okay, they says that they were the who had lost his husband because he first turned blind and then finally died working in such a risky factory, but she herself had not given up on making bangles. When asked Mukesh, and this Bahu was Mukesh's elder brother's wife. Okay, so when Mukesh's mother was asked that if she even minded that her husband had lost eyes working in the bangle factory, or even his son had lost life and also his eyes working in a bangle factory, what do you have to say about the same? So the mother very simplistically says that their karmas and their destiny, they have to make a livelihood, and in such a situation there was no other means except for working in such factories which was closer to them, and they hired such labor which was indeed very cheap. Okay, she also sees that this blind woman, that is Mukesh's elder brother's wife, had also turned blind and was making bangles even when she was blind. And she said, yeah, I did not know that it symbolizes the bangles are a very prominent symbol for a married woman. Okay, so she says even if she knows if it is a good sign or a not good sign if she is breaking glass and making bangles out of it. So it was a glass factory and they made bangles. Okay, so she feels sad for the entire family and how they are a part of such poverty like world. Then she talks to Mukesh. Mukesh says that he would not resign to his fate of working in a factory, in a glass factory or in a glass furnace where he had to make bangles. He would rather like to be a motor mechanic, to which the author is very happy that at least there is someone who wants to break free from this labor tradition and wants to do something on his own. Then the writer offers him if he wishes to be the pilot and also fly the airplane. He says he would not give in to such lofty dreams too, because he knows his condition, his situation. He would be happy being a motor mechanic and he'd work for it. This shows author there's some hope and there is some light wherein he could do good for himself, and then she comes from that very place. So these were the two narratives. Here the symbolism of I want to drive a car is about hope. His here is obviously Inez Jung, and why is she wanting to drive a car? This shows that she is wanting to upgrade. She is wanting to take the society to a level where people and individuals are actually independent and can take decision for themselves. Okay, and one such example is that of Mukesh. Okay, so these were the two narratives in this lesson. Lost Spring, that is the story of stolen childhood. Why stolen? Because their childhood was given to child labor. Okay, and she just anecdotes it, she just writes it down in her journal, and she also feels the pain profusely. Okay, so this was it, students. I'd be sharing you the question answer and the notes with you in Naresa's classes. Till then, take care.